Hey guys, I'm Ryan from Blockchain Markets, and I'm today with Jeff from Quantalysus. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, hi Ryan, how you doing? Hello, audience
Hi,
members.
hi everyone. For you guys that don't know Jeff, Jeff has a great site where he puts unbiased research on different crypto projects. So then maybe it's better if you explain it more in depth also and a bit of your background, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on again. Quantalysus is a website, and it started out as a data science website. My viewership was very low. It stood for quantitative analysis. It's spelled a little differently. Instead of IS, it's US at the end. And I became really involved with cryptocurrencies last summer. And as part of my due diligence in figuring out what coins to trade or what coins to invest in, I decided to just start writing my own content. Whenever I invest in anything, I always come up with a hypothesis. Why or why shouldn't I enter a project? And so rather than keeping those notes to myself, I thought about publishing them. And it started to snowball and grow from there. Whether it's ICO reviews, education series to what is Bitcoin, what is mining, explaining the little details for someone who's just entering the space. And so that's the nature of the site. It's unpaid content. So if projects want to talk to me, they can reach out. But for the most part, if you're offering any payment, I probably won't review you.
Yeah, and that's a good part of things. That's how I found your site as well. Looking for when I was doing my own research, I was looking for independent sources as well, which is actually really difficult to find in the crypto space.
It is.
Yeah, you just read, and then some things that usually what happened to me is that I would just read a review, and then halfway I would just realize, yeah, there is something that this is not really completely independent.
It is. It's tough. You know, my background is in finance and operations. I've worked in technology for over 14 years, from Google to Intel, Accenture, technology consulting. You know, my first prerogative is always to figure out what are the threats, what are the opportunities, what is the technology meant to do, not necessarily the technology itself. It's supposed to have a use case. If people aren't going to use these applications, there's no point for any of these technologies. Before our call, we were talking about certain projects that had great technology, but not necessarily the go-to-market savviness that may be necessary to win the minds and hearts of technologists, entrepreneurs. And again, you're supposed to enable this ecosystem of decentralized applications, and we're a long way from that. So when I write my reviews, it's always with the mindset of what will they take, what would they need to be able to succeed.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's interesting that you bring that up, because then that's something that I see as well. That some projects are very good on the tech side, but not as good in explaining what they do, for example, or explaining it or promoting themselves as well. But just for everybody that is looking at this, and then they're looking at into different projects, and what do you think are from your point of view, the most interesting things, or what should you be looking when you look for a project?
First, I always look at the team. Do they have the qualifications? Do they have the skills to be successful in executing such an ambitious roadmap? If we're looking at all these technologies, Ethereum's, I think, still leads the way. Most of the developers who are building dApps, smart contracts, they know Solidity. I was a big Neo fan. They had Neo DevCon in several sites. I think they had one in Amsterdam, actually, come to think of it. And they basically bring their entire team and all their projects out to each city and trying to win the minds and hearts of these developers. And so if I look at ecosystems, I figure out what, aside from being fast, high throughput, or secure, or private, like besides all these features, what are you doing in terms of winning developers? One of the most interesting projects that I came across recently was Holochain. In addition to just launching a protocol, or it's basically the software, they actually started selling these little hardware ports on Indiegogo or Indigo, and people were basically buying this hardware so they can bootstrap their own node at home. On top of that, when I read through all of their literature, I mean, the literature is quite unconventional. They were very peace-loving in their technical documentation. But what I thought was interesting was they were offering technical support, on-the-ground training. Here's developer documentation, and I thought that was really cool. So when I look for, in addition to the team, I look for what are you going to do to foster that success? Most projects focus on the marketing. You can see huge Telegram groups. You can see a huge content push. They're sitting with a lot of influencer channels on YouTube. But at the end of the day, it really is about building bricks, getting bricks to build homes. And so you do need these developers. The third thing I look for is reasonable economics. What is a token used for? A token utility, which is often, which is a hotly debated topic. If tokens are securities or utilities, whatever if they're for governance features. But at the same at the end of the day, these are startups. If you're raising over $50-60 million, I'm probably not going to fork over any of my money to your project just because you're asking for too much. Why don't you bootstrap a little bit, find the business model, collect 200 as you pass go on Monopoly, and bootstrap along the way. So those are things that I primarily look for. There's probably 4 through 8 other items, but I think those top 3 are very interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I see the same, that also that a lot of projects that and also from the other side, from the investor side, people get just like blind, and then they just want to get into an ICO. Almost doesn't matter for them to them, like if it's a good project or not. And that keeps on amazing. I find it amazing because people, they're just kind of playing with the money without actually doing the research. And then some projects ask for have a huge hard cap, and then and it's not a real. You don't see a real business, not a real long-term community, like you said before. But yet they do get funded. And
that's the madness of magical internet. Magical internet money. People, once they buy Ethereum or Bitcoin, it's just these ones and zeros that show up on your screen, and it's almost not real. I'm not much of a gambler. When I go to Vegas, I play the penny slot and I lose money, I freak out a little bit. The risk to reward ratio is fundamentally different when it comes to crypto, and I think you just have to acknowledge that there's heavy risk with many of these projects. Yeah,
true. I always look at it from the investor's point of view, like more like I always try to get into a project for the lowest possible, so you have like this kind of margin of safety. Then there's not if you find a good project, you did all your research, and everything makes sense. Yeah, that from my point of view, it makes sense to allocate part of your assets into that project. That of course there's always a risk, but you can minimize it by like doing your research.
I like that margin of safety comment. In addition to this margin of safety, what are some of the things that you look at?
Yeah, I think I always look at first. I look at it from the point of view of like if I would be a VC, and I think, okay, these guys are coming to me, and then they're basically pitching with their website, their Telegram, and everything, and I have to look at if I'm going to invest in them or not. So I just like to see it from that point of view, rather than because initially I didn't do it like that. I just also got invested in a couple of ICOs like with that. Especially in December or late November.
Oh yeah.
That was like the top of the madness, and I also fell for it.
I did too a little bit. Everyone did. Yeah, times where there was a hysteria in December, January.
And that's very interesting because you start looking back, and then I think like now that everything is like not moving at all, like really like low for a few months already, it's good to like look back and then think of what did I do that didn't make actual sense. Like what did I do that it was just following the crowd, and decisions like that. For example, in my case, just like getting into an ICO, even though I didn't lose money, it just but I didn't do like a lot of research. Just that invested just part of the FOMO. I just didn't want to miss out on that project. And then I think it
Oh,
keeps on happening to a lot of people. So then if you I think the longer you are in this space, the more you learn those things also.
yeah, absolutely. I started out listening to YouTubers.
Yeah, me
I
too.
mean, you could probably name the top, the guys with the largest subscribers. But at the end of the day, you really do have to do your own research, as everyone always says. It's not financial advice. All those disclaimers. It
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. I think the clearest thing or I can do for myself, and I think any of people listening here, is really write 5 bullets. If you can't write a review
yeah,
like I do, just write 5 bullets. Get a piece of paper, on one side write pros, on the other side write cons, and then
yeah.
draw a line right down the middle and just write 5 bullet points on each side. At least you can make an informed decision. You may not be right. You're often time will tell if you're right or wrong, but that's a good start.
Yeah, and at least you can say, well, I did my homework. Now, if the project didn't turn out to be how I expected, well, I should have done maybe a better research, but at least I did something, rather than just following somebody else's advice, like what I did in the last year. For example, I did
Yeah,
exactly
exactly.
the same thing. I would just look at YouTube and at the beginning, and then following that. But I think that the other thing that I try to do always as you said, also the team, it's very important because it's basically I also look at not just at the profiles on LinkedIn, but basically I try to look if what those guys have done in the past, if they have built other products, other successful startups, companies, who has backed them up in those companies. Because that says a lot. If those guys are inspiring people, then it's much easier for them to inspire new employees that will make this company bigger. And that I think also applies to the crypto space. It's basically startups that you are funding. So then if they have an inspiring group of people, especially the founders, if they have done interesting things in the past, people will love to work for them. And I think
Oh, I agree.
those are the companies that are different.
I absolutely agree. When it comes to decentralization technologies, I mean, are they better than centralized technologies? You have to ask yourself that question. The answer is no, not at the moment, but people are working on it. So if they're working on it, what angle are they taking on it? There are many projects that simply fork a GitHub repo and just basically copy and paste the project. But if you're not adding something new to it, you're not adding privacy features, putting horizontal scaling so that you can increase your throughput, whether you're coming up with a different governance mechanism or a block reward to reward developers to upgrade that protocol, you have to do something different. So when I review projects, I'm always looking for what's your differentiating feature and can you get there? So now that you have your team, what's your idea and how do you execute that roadmap? I'm curious, what kind of projects are you looking at now? I'm sure everyone wants to, they know our framework, they know our biases. I'm curious, they're probably wondering what's Ryan looking at? What's Jeff looking at?
Yeah, the moment that a few projects that I have in my list. One is Hypernet. I think is a very interesting one. The other one is MOTK. I have, by the way, an interview with the CEO coming later or at the beginning of next week.
Oh, cool! Yeah, I'd love to be a part. I'd love to check that out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's talk after this to see if you can be part also of the call.
Cool. Awesome. Is it Emotic or Emotic?
Or Emotic? Yeah, I don't know actually.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I just the other one is Tensorum as well. I think that's also interesting, and also having an interview with them coming.
Oh, really? Yeah, they're just starting their influencer circuit, getting out there. I really like the name. The website looks kind of cool. It's like black with phosphorescent, luminescent colors.
And yeah, it's a super early stage one.
Yeah, it is. Actually, their website's really polished, so it makes
Yeah,
it seem like they're pretty far along.
yeah, yeah. It looks like they've been working on it for a while, I think, but silently.
Yeah.
Um, um, Today I had a call with I'm going to put the video so that I think tomorrow or on Friday with a project called Bancorus. I thought that was also pretty interesting. It's more on the security tokens side of things.
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
um,
More
'Cause,
like Polyswarm or
yeah,
Polymath.
yeah, like Polymath, but actually they're partnering with Polymath, and actually I was looking at the video of Polycon that they did the conference. I think like
Yeah.
2-3
I had some
months
friends
ago.
attend. I had some friends go to that.
Yeah. It was-
You know, it's funny. I didn't know it was for Polymath. I thought it was a polyamorous conference because
yeah,
I used to live in San Francisco and that's
yeah.
very popular. So people were telling me they were going to PolyCon, and I said, "Should you be telling people you're going to PolyCon?"
Maybe we should do.
Yeah, I was like, maybe you should keep that to yourself. I was just joking. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, a couple of interesting projects I'm looking at in the wallet space. Um, uh, Decentralized key management. Tenzorum is one of them.
Mhm.
Vault 12. They both use the Shamer's secret. I think that's very interesting
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting.
algorithm. There's another one coming out called Arcana, Arcana. They're taking a more centralized approach to key management and funds. It's very different. Then when it comes to blockchains, I wrote a review obviously on Emotic or Emotic. I think they're raising a little much for their hard cap, but it's an interesting approach. They're all about trying to get non-developers to build apps on the blockchain, and the way they plan to do that is with natural language. They'll have backgrounds. The programmers all have backgrounds in Lisp, which is an older programming language that many developers might not say it's not hip or cool, but it does allow for a quick, rapid development and others to join on. I've started to look at a project called Ergo. AERGO.
Mhm.
It's based on a company called Blocko out in Korea. They already have an existing solution. It's a fork of Bitcoin with the Ethereum virtual machine, and it should be able to create both public and private modalities on their platform. Really should be focusing on bringing on enterprises on board. For DAGs, I think Taraxo looks interesting, taking Nano or Riblocks and basically slapping on smart contract capability, far beyond my understanding, but who knows if that will work. I bought Golem a year ago, so obviously HyperNet super interesting as well. Plus, I like the name HyperNet. A bunch of Stanford grads attached to that project. For dApps, Agora looks interesting, but it's actually more than a dApp. It's a blockchain, so adding voting capabilities. And I think they have already actually went live with a real voting
Oh,
use case.
interesting. I haven't heard about that. Agora?
Yeah, check it out. Agora.vote is their website. Should be, at the end of the day, all of these projects have to have real world use cases, right? So if you can help modern democracies or corporate voting, I think it's really interesting. I think putting the blockchain for that specific purpose.
It's a great use case for blockchain. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is some of the projects I'm looking at. I have a whole list. It's all on my ranking spreadsheet. I put everything on there that people can see it.
Cool. Yeah, for the ones that don't know, you can go to Jeff's website, and then you have in a tab, write your ranking, so you can follow.
Yeah, exactly. And I take suggestions, so don't send me a bunch of crappy projects, please, because I'm not gonna probably respond to those.
Exactly. Oh, there's another one. I just had I was surprised actually that one called Universal Labs.
Oh, I haven't heard of it.
It's kind of a holochain from China, and
Oh, cool.
it was I think the website is ulabs.tech, and
Tech. All right, I'll watch this again and then write it down.
Super interesting because as we were talking before, that if you look at these things, like they have to be like a real business. They have to think of how are they going to build a business, a long-lasting business. These guys, I thought, well, I'll just do anywhere. I went through their website. I thought, well, they have basically they allow you to have your own private cloud at home. So they also sell
basically holochain.
Exactly, holochain. They sell you the device, but the same, very similar story. So I thought, well, okay, it's just another copycat of holochain. Like there will be many now. But actually, I started to like do a bit more research, and I found that the CEO, super clever guy, went to Harvard and did was part of the in 2015 of part of a small group of like only 20 people that was part of a lab that Harvard created to learn more about blockchain technology, together with NASDAQ and a couple of other big companies. And then this guy was part of that, and then he just went back to he started after that company backed by Boost VC, who invested also in Coinbase.
Oh wow!
So I thought, okay, now I started to listen more what he's, and then he went back to and also got an investment from the chairman of Goldman Sachs. So I thought, okay, yeah, if you can do that, then it's really different than other projects. And went back to China and worked on creating another supply chain company related to blockchain and help companies like Tencent and Alibaba to basically make sure that the products they were selling were not were original.
So it's so interesting. An investor in Coinbase. I mean, I'm sure things turned out fairly well for them. I think one of the biggest things that to worry about is confirmation bias. So I use these shortcuts, these heuristics, and there's so many projects. There's just not enough time to properly evaluate each one, and nor do you have enough time to make a decision before someone says you have to submit your investment or else the window will close. So there's that little bit of time pressure, a lot of time pressure placed on investors. And secondly, there's not enough information. Actually, maybe too much information, just not enough filter. And so when you're making these decisions, one of the quickest things that people do is they often look at the logos of investors. So they'll say, oh, well, Sequoia is involved, so I just throw the kitchen sink at the project. I'm going to do well. I think some of these funds, you should probably follow their Medium pages, their Twitter pages, see any official communication from them, because they might be able to have a little bit of insight into why they invested in those projects, rather than simply just throwing money in. But one of the best things that I think you and I have advantage is that we do talk to these projects often. So we probably have a little bit of information that the public doesn't have, and it's sort of our responsibility to go out to send that information out to our viewers or our readers in an honest and truthful fashion. And I think that's difficult. That's a difficult balance, because as a private investor, you want to maintain a competitive edge. But as a public persona, you also have to then figure out what can I then send out to the public that maybe the project may or may not want to have out there as well. So when I'm looking at different investors, I always wonder, like, is it one project that made you famous, or have you made hit songs over and over and over, and you have a track record of success?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, because then also then these investment firms or VCs, we all know that for 1 out of 10 projects, one is the massive gain, and then the others we never know about. So then it's also interesting to dig a little bit more on that on every of these projects.
I should put on my website my obviously my successes. I should put all the coins that I actually invested in that lost me a lot of money as well, just to be a little bit more honest. Like, well, here's my good portfolio and here's my crappy portfolio. Maybe people would just enjoy that a little bit more as well. Like, yeah, this guy makes great decisions, and man, he's made some really poor ones too.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like with it's just like yeah, like Warren Buffett says, like you don't have to make a lot of great decisions. It's just like once or twice, and then if those like just really work, then the gains are like massive. But in between, me too. I've done also like a lot of stupid trades at the bad time, just like completely the opposite, of course, as it should be. But I've also bought high and sold.
Oh, we've all been there.
just like, just like,
The market's dipping. Buy the dip. Like, okay, I'm buying.
yeah.
Wait, it's going down more. What? I thought that was the dip.
Yeah, like so many things. Also, like, or when you try, yeah, those things like trying to like time the market. Like, also have had that thing of okay, the main net of a project X is coming in a month from now. Okay, so I'm gonna buy it now, and I'll wait. Even though I don't believe in the project, I'll just buy and wait and sell when the main net is about to happen. But I didn't see any profit on those short-term trades.
Yeah, I was telling some friends, I was like, honestly, I'm always late to dinner. I'm never going to be able to get the market timing right. Like I can't even make dinner at the at the right time. Let me just invest in a project, sit on it, and then when another project comes along, I'll liquidate my position and move into the next one.
Yeah, I think that's also what works for me. To look at it as a long term, because at the end of the day, you cannot really know exactly when to enter the market. And yeah, as I said, like for me, in my case, then like doing like this short term trades has not paid off. But like the other ones that what I've invested and got in at the beginning of the projects, and I looked for projects that were interesting, and then I had more the long-term investment strategy. Those have worked much better.
Yeah, same here. If I look at my trading portfolio, I'm probably down 30%. Well, I'm making that up. I don't know if that's true or not. If I look at my ICO portfolio, I'm probably up 6x on the entire thing. So one strategy clearly works better than the other.
Yeah, true.
For me, at least. That's for me. Everyone come up with their own strategy.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like I don't know if there's anything else, Jeff, that you would like to say or like to ask the community or.
Honestly, I just want to say thank you for having me on. We've been talking back and forth for quite a while, sharing projects and notes and information, but it's finally great to speak in person. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to partner and cross collaborate a little bit more. And if anyone has any questions, join me on Telegram or find my site. You can find all my information there. I'm happy to talk with anyone that's also crypto minded.
Sure. Yes, guys. Just go to Jeff's website. I'll leave the link in the description, and then you can find also great content. Just don't sell him your crappy your shitty projects for him to write about.
Yeah, you can also see my winners and losers. Maybe I should publish that list.
Yeah.
Just so people can make fun of my bad list.
Okay. Okay, guys, and thank you very much, Jeff. I really encourage you all guys to check Jeff's site. It's really good content. And I hope we can have another session in a few more weeks or months to see like how everything is going.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate your time.
No, thank you. Cheers.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.